Robin Wright, Middle East Analyst for the Woodrow Wilson Center, and David Sanger, Chief Washington Correspondent for the New York Times. David, we have a lot of negotiations going on in Geneva, but it's not just in Geneva, right?
That's right. And you have to think of this as three negotiations going on simultaneously. There is the European negotiation, European and the United States and Russia and China with Iran. That's the one in Geneva. There is a debate inside Iran in which the moderates, led by President Rouhani, and the chief negotiator, who's in Geneva, are dealing with the hardliners, including in the Iranian Revolutionary Guard. And then there's another debate going on, and another deal is going to have to be brokered right back here between the White House and those in Congress who want to add on additional sanctions at a time that President Obama says, hold up, let's let this process work out. And
Robin, there were some really ugly words from the supreme leader of Iran, Khamenei, today about Israel. We don't have to repeat them, but they weren't nice. And you, on the other hand, you know the foreign minister. You've known him for a while. How serious are the Iranians about wanting some sort of actual peace and to contain whatever nuclear weapon program they may have? And should we just ignore what Khamenei says? Is that just for domestic consumption?
Well, he was referring actually to one specific Israeli official, the prime minister. That doesn't make that any less despicable. But the foreign minister actually is an interesting character because he went to the University of Denver and had many of the same professors as Condoleezza Rice did. He is one who spans the cultures and I think understands that this is a moment. And he has been the guiding force behind pushing for a deal. Iran needs a deal like never before. The value of its currency is been cut by over half. Its oil exports have also been cut by more than half. So they have an enormous incentive. Everyone knew that today was going to be the tough day of negotiations. The hope is that tomorrow that you get the kind of breakthrough that will allow John Kerry to go back to Geneva, the foreign ministers from all the 5 permanent members of the UN to come back and kind of formally announce we finally have a deal with Iran that will open the way 6 months down the road to solve this problem. I would be surprised, I think, if we don't get a deal.
Really?
Yeah.
Another big story, obviously, is in Afghanistan right now, where it looks like there is a treaty of some sort that is finally taking shape. It still has to be voted on and approved by the Loya Jirga, and right?
Right?
That still hasn't happened. Okay, I just want to make sure it hadn't happened in the last half hour.
Well, if it has, I'm not aware.
Okay. What exactly is the U.S. talking about when it comes to forces? What forces are we still going to have in country after 2014?
Well, after 2014, if the plan went live, and there's supposed to be an Afghan election in between that could, of course, upend some of this, their thought is that there would be 8,000, 10,000 American and NATO trainers and some other nations as well who would keep trying to get the Afghan forces up to where they need to be. The interesting question is, how long would the Americans stay beyond 2014? The agreement, as it is put together right now, goes on for till 2024 and beyond. Jeez. But the White House has been pretty clear that they're not envisioning having American forces there through 2024, which, by the way, remember, the forces first entered Afghanistan right after 9/11. So by 2024, they will have been there, if they stayed that long, for 23 years. That's pretty remarkable.
It's incredible. And one part of the deal, there was all this back and forth, is Obama going to apologize to the Afghans for some of the actions that have taken place? Samantha Power, the U.S. ambassador to the United Nations today, was asked about this, and she said, "We've been very clear we have nothing to apologize for." But here's Samantha Power in 2003 speaking more theoretically about the U.S. apologizing.
It's the tendency of states, as you could argue that on some level it is also of individuals, not to look back and not to reckon with what we've done wrong. And we have to look at ourselves. We haven't, slavery would similarly probably be cathartic to apologize for. We've never done that. Only the Japanese Americans got an apology.
Now, of course, Robin, what the American troops have done in Afghanistan cannot be compared. Even the worst things that have happened by errant troops here and there, accidents that have happened, can't be compared to slavery, can't be compared to genocide. But still, I think there are observers and people who were fans of Ambassador Power in her previous life as an academic who heard her say, "We have nothing to apologize for," and wondered what happened.
Well, it reflects in some ways on the difference between being out of power and affiliated with a non-government organization and suddenly being thrust into being the one of the primary faces and defenders of a foreign policy. But I think the official U.S. position is clearly that after investing the lives of American troops, billions of dollars in aid and military equipment and so forth, that the U.S. has done all it can to help democratize, to get rid of the Taliban, to open up society, to bring women back into the educational system and so forth. And then on that level, it has nothing to apologize for, that its actions are defensive. But clearly, the issue of what powers troops are allowed to have on the ground and what immunity they have has been an issue that haunts us everywhere we've been, really, since World War II. It was the critical issue that forced us really out of Iraq. The Iraqis didn't want us. We couldn't come to an agreement. And it is the issue in Iran that also led to the revolution and Ayatollah Khomeini's fame over the same issue.
Robin, David, thank you so much. Great discussion.